Hello, everybody. Last Tuesday, I was having a particularly tough day, and I found myself reluctant to jump on City Life's weekly community meeting call. This was especially odd because in this period of uncertainty, they'd become a constant for me. I rationalized to myself I must be tired from the many hats I'd been trying to wear over the past month, trying to help with phone banking for the eviction moratorium, helping with the census presentation, and still trying to give my special project the attention it required. I wound up making myself join the meeting, and I was immediately grateful that I did. We started this meeting in an unconventional way, with first-person testimony from an immunocompromised couple that were literally an hour from being forced to leave their home. They shared a video detailing their situation and their gratitude to everyone who helped get the bill across the finish line. As I listened, I began to sob, muting my camera so my tears weren't live-streamed to Facebook. I wouldn't fully understand the emotions at play until I began to unpack my thoughts, and for now decided to attribute it to being sad about the end of my internship with City Life and losing this amazing team of people I'd gotten to know over the past few months. As the meeting continued, I struggled to focus, instead trying to figure out why I was so overwhelmed with emotion. I kept being whisked back to 2009 when my dad lost his house. While I've always been incredibly fortunate to have a roof over my head at my mom and stepdad's house, I visited my dad regularly, first in an apartment, then in a house he bought with his wife. They'd applied for financing just before the housing bubble popped in 2008. The loss of the house and the numerous things inside it was traumatic in and of itself, but even worse was the period of instability that followed. Our visits were affected, from not being able to see him because he was staying at a friend's house or in a motel room, to sleeping in chairs or on the floor of an apartment in the basement of someone's house. Was I crying because I'd seen the impact that housing security had had on somebody's finances and well-being? How it affected people around them? How isolating it felt to seemingly fight this on our own? This was no doubt part of it, but I still couldn't help but feel like I wasn't at the core of this feeling. It all clicked for me as I refocused on the meeting in front of me, and we shifted to the closing portion. A City Life member thanked everyone for joining us and reminded us of the importance of community holding each other up, before closing the meeting with the phrase that has closed out community meetings for decades now, a call and response of "when we fight, we win." This phrase brought the tears right back to the surface, and in that moment I understood. While I was feeling my personal loss in the past and the possible loss of City Life soon, more than anything, I was moved by the power of people coming together to advocate for themselves and for one another, and the impact that advocacy had. I thought back to how difficult it was to deal with losing a house, to feel like we were alone in the fight. And I realized that more than anything I'd learned from my time with City Life, I had learned the power of solidarity. Solidarity is particularly important in times like these. Solidarity was folks assembling outside of Housing Court, demanding its closure for the duration of the state of emergency. Solidarity was people from all around Massachusetts calling and writing their legislators to demand that no one be forced to leave their home in the midst of a pandemic. Solidarity likely saved that couple's lives. Solidarity is particularly important for those of us focused on social change, as so many of problems in our society depend on isolating those affected. And when we can get together and fight as a group and fight for one another, we win. Thank you.